is going to see Blake Lively's communication with Taylor Swift. Hi, and welcome to Flossom Talk. I'm Sashti Flo, and on my channel, I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood and working as an entertainment reporter, and about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal feud. And today, there is some good news if you are rooting for the truth. Okay, so last night, the judge finally did something in favor of Justin Baldoni. We are going to see, or maybe not we, but at least Justin Baldoni's lawyer and his team is going to see Blake Lively's communication with Taylor Swift. The judge approved that this evidence is important to the case, and he said to Blake Lively, you have to show the texts and the communication with Taylor Swift that you have regarding everything It Ends With Us related stuff. So yes, this could be very interesting. This is kind of a trap for Blake Lively, if you ask me, because there are some scenarios here that I've been playing around with, thinking like, what happens if there isn't anything in those text messages regarding It Ends With Us? That kind of proves that Blake Lively was lying during the whole PR tour, saying that Taylor Swift was with her the entire time. If they didn't have any communication about It Ends With Us, that looks really bad. And that is really bad for Blake when she's in court in front of a jury, because the jury don't like liars. Anyways, we don't know that at all. And I don't think so. I think there's stuff in those text messages that Blake Lively's terrified of showing Justin Baldoni's team. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense that she's been fighting so hard to not show them. There's been so much back and forth between the two parties and the judge. Everyone is asking the judge, please don't let us have to show this evidence. And the other one is saying, oh, we want to see that evidence. Lots of legal papers, lots of big lawyers' bills, obviously. But this, I think, is a really good step in the right direction. The judge also denied something Justin Baldoni asked for, which was to see these text messages before July 1st. I think it, of course, would have been great if he could have access to this communication before he amends his complaint, which is supposed to happen on June 23rd, which is the same date that Brian Friedman is deposing Blake Lively. I guess he would have loved to have those access to those text messages and the communication between her and Taylor Swift before that as well, but I don't think that's happening. We'll see when he's going to get access to this, because I feel like Blake Lively is really ready to put up a big fight not to share any communication she had with Taylor Swift. And of course, now Taylor Swift is probably not that happy about this either, because now she is being dragged into it anyways. She thought she was off the hook when the subpoena was dropped, but I guess not. So I'm sure that they are never, ever, ever going to be friends again. So the judge said that he acknowledged there is a risk for Baldoni's team to use this communication with a huge star as PR tactics, but then he said that risk isn't enough reason to block this discovery. He also pointed out that there is a protective order in place that will prevent leaks to the press. We'll see how that works. As long as you don't know where the leaks is coming from, it's hard to find them. And usually it happens in cases. I remember, I wonder if it was Johnny Depp case when someone said they had sat on their phone and sent a bunch of emails to someone. You know, these things. I personally, of course, hope that these text messages will get leaked, because I think we all deserve to see them. If this ever ends up in court, which it seems like it will be at this point, I'm sure that we're going to find out what's in there. Then there was another letter from Blake Lively's team yesterday to the judge as well, and they're asking for more access to especially journalists and content creators that they assume that Justin Baldoni's team have been speaking with or talking to or communicating with. So they're saying they're not happy with what they've received so far in this discovery process. They're basically accusing Baldoni's team of something they call clandestine communication, meaning basically that they're saying that they shared information with content creators or third parties, journalists, through an email inbox where they added information in the draft folder and then gave the third parties access to the email login so that they could log in and see that there was a draft there and they could read it, but there would be no paper trail, which is smart. But I find it very hard to believe that the Wayfair Party would do something like that before they even knew that there would be a lawsuit. There are communications, as we know, between Jennifer Abel and journalists. And why would they go to this length of hiding their trace like this, or hiding their traces like this, if there was no legal implications anywhere? So I find that very far-fetched, although they're saying here that the Wayfair parties have never denied that they use these kind of methods. I think this might have happened, though, at a later point, because what Blake Lively's team is asking is all communication up to this day, today or tomorrow, whenever they're going to leave all this information with them, because they think this smear campaign is still going on. This retaliation campaign didn't stop after Blake Lively published that article in the New York Times. They're saying that it's still ongoing. So that's why they need to see communication up till today. And I'm sure that there has been communications between some journalists and someone at the Wayfair party or someone that's involved there. And as we know, Brian Friedman has done interviews. He's been talking to the press. So of course there are links between the Wayfair parties, Justin Baldoni's team, Brian Friedman, and content creators, journalists, and third parties. But as I said, it doesn't make sense that any of this happened until she filed that lawsuit, because we're not talking about government secrets here. We're talking about tipping off the press about something, if something was going on. And as I said before, we've seen text messages between, amongst others, Melissa Nason and Jennifer Abel and TMZ, for example. There was actually a thread where they were discussing my interview, and Jennifer Abel said, "Oh, wow, it was obvious that she didn't know about the interview." And then TMZ replied something like, "Yeah, we've interviewed her," because I was interviewed by TMZ. So things like that makes me believe that there wasn't any like clandestine communication going on at that point. But as I said, maybe later, I don't know. I'm sure it was in everyone's interest to tell the world that Blake Lively was lying in that New York Times article, because obviously she came out and smeared all these people in public. So of course they had to come out and defend themselves. But I don't think they've been actively just trying to smear Blake Lively in any way. I think they've just been actively trying to defend themselves in the press with content creators. What do I know? I know that I haven't spoken to anyone, as I said many times before. And I know a lot of the content creators that are covering this really closely have not spoken to anyone at Wayfair or Justin Baldoni's camp at all, or Blake Lively for that matter. But yeah, so this is another fishing expedition from the Blake Lively team. But as you know, for example, someone like Paris Hilton, who is also represented by Brian Friedman, has said so many times in his videos that he hasn't had any contact with them either, and that he's not receiving any information from Brian Friedman. But what do I know? I can't talk for anyone else, but I can talk for myself. Both parties are basically just making sure that everything is delayed again and again and again. So let's see what the judge says about this. If he's saying to Baldoni's team that you need to show all communications with third parties, journalists, and content creators up till today, or if he's okay with what Baldoni's team is suggesting up till December 2024, when she had filed that CRD complaint. All right, so yesterday I spoke about one of the people. I don't know if we can call her a content creator. Her name is Dr. Leslie Dobson. She is one of the people out there who's spreading misinformation and conspiracy theories that are insane. And yesterday I mentioned that she is in the legal documents, and Baldoni's team wants all communication that Blake Lively's team had with her, because she's been spreading these crazy rumors about Justin Baldoni having SA'd people in college. I mean, and also she's the one who sent fake HR complaints to some of my colleagues or my other content creators here. One of them, Donna Bowling, who is behind A Daily Dose of Donna here on YouTube. And she explained in a video a few days ago that she received those fake HR complaints from Dr. Leslie Dobson, who said she had received them from Sony. And it all turned out, as I talked about in the video yesterday, that they were fake. Anyways, I couldn't find the video that Dr. Leslie Dobson was speaking about me, but then Lauren from Court of Random Opinion sent me this video, so I just wanted to share it with you to show you how delulu this woman is.
The video where Blake is talking to that female journalist who mentions her baby bump, and Blake seems off-put. Well, what you haven't seen is if you actually YouTube it, before that, that journalist is told not to mention the bump, that Blake wants to focus on the movie. She doesn't want the journalist mentioning the bump. And what the journalist does right away, which you don't see, is she pats the bump. Then she talks about the bump. Then you see Blake's reaction.
Yeah, there you go. So Dr. Leslie made up this story that she's the only one who ever heard that I walked up to Blake Lively and tapped her tummy. I'm sure it was a little difficult to find an excuse for why Blake Lively was behaving the way she did in my interview, but I think uh, what she made up is so insane. Like, would anyone ever walk up to a pregnant woman you don't know, especially a big celebrity that you're about to interview, and walk over to her and start touching her stomach? I mean, it's so absurd. Anyways, I can't wait to hear the connection between her and Blake Lively's team. I'm sure there's something there, because why would it be in her interest to just make up these stories? She's got so much backlash from it as well. So, yeah. Anyways, one of you guys sent me an email yesterday and pointing out that there are some press now that is turning a little bit against Blake Lively. Not really, but you know, they're more honest. Here in Marie Claire, which used to be very pro Blake, they have a headline in the UK saying source claims Taylor Swift is furious at Blake Lively amid Justin Baldoni legal drama. Their friendship isn't in a good place. Apparently, they added. The funny thing here is now that Taylor Swift is dragged into this, and now she's really dragged into this because we know that they're going to have to show her communication with Blake Lively. Now the outlets are like, ooh, we don't want to be on bad terms with Taylor, so we need to take her side here. It's quite funny because she is obviously more powerful than Blake Lively, who is really nothing without her husband. Let's face it, Blake Lively has no power without Ryan Reynolds. Zero. So there's a source here, Marie Claire actually picked this up from page 6, where they're quoting Blake Lively's text message about Taylor Swift when she called her a dragon, blah, blah, blah. And then they're saying, this source is saying, Taylor buries ashes but keeps maps the way she put them, remember? Referencing the Stars song Endgame from the Revenge Heavy album Reputation. They added, she will forever be furious at how Blake quite clearly was using her for clout and leverage in her dealings with Justin. She really hates that Blake would even think like that, let alone write the things she did in that text. Then the story continues to say, if you've been following all the legal drama so far, you'll know that Justin's team subpoenaed Taylor, meaning she would have to testify in the trial, but the subpoena was eventually thrown out. They forget to mention in this story that Blake Lively blackmailed Taylor Swift and said that she would leak all her text messages if she didn't support her publicly. They forgot to mention that detail here. At the end here, they're like, oh, we don't want to take sides, so we're going to go with this. A source previously told People their friendship has halted. Taylor wants no part in this drama. A second insider added that the two women are taking some space from each other. Hopefully, they'll be able to patch things up. Says Marie Claire. Why would they hope that they would patch things up? Why would they hope that Taylor Swift goes back to having a friend like Blake Lively? Who wants to have a friend like Blake Lively? Seriously? Another thing that I find interesting about these text messages is actually that Blake Lively threatened Taylor Swift to leak all her texts, and the same texts that she's now refusing to show to Justin Baldoni's legal team. Doesn't that seem a little contradictory here? Anyways, there's another story in Cosmopolitan, also a little less pro Blake Lively, saying that Blake Lively is claiming a false victory, according to Justin Baldoni's team, who says case is far from over. And it says here that the Star posted that she had defeated Baldoni's counter lawsuit and pledged to be a voice for women, but it seems the case is actually still ongoing. Yes, it is. Obviously, very alive. I was just watching Without a Crystal Ball today. Someone, you guys keep sending me her stuff. She's amazing. So Katie reported that she's been speaking to people on the inside and people working in the for the magazines and newspapers that's been reporting on this. And she said that they know that Blake Lively's lying, but they can't change the narrative now because it's going to make them look like idiots, and it's also going to make them liable because they have printed stuff that they didn't believe. But at this point, you know, if they ever would to admit that they knew that she was lying and still writing articles to support her, that's malice, isn't it? I don't know. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the narrative will change. And I'm sure next week is going to be super messy because then the amended complaint from Justin Baldoni's team is going to hit us hard and hopefully with a big bang. I'm sure there's some new information in there that we've all been waiting for. So stay tuned for more. And again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support. You know that. Oscar saying hello. Say hi, Oscar. He's so tired. He loves my new studio. And again, thank you guys so much for all your support about my new studio and for all your suggestions of what I can do on that wall and maybe around here. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode, right, Oscar? And we'll see you soon.